All right, let me go ahead and get you in here today. Let's take a quick look at this Kenwood KRC-838. Absolutely beautiful radio. Electronic volume control, and that's kind of where the focus of this quick video is going to be. This radio belongs to Buzz. He lives in Florida and sent this to me to take a look at. He had kind of went through it. I think he bought this for a car he's going to put it in, and he went through it and said it all seems to work, but I'd just like for you to check it out. And when I got it, I hooked it up, and pretty much just as he said, it all did work, with the exception of one thing. The volume control, even at full maximum volume, the output for the preamp out as well as the speakers was only about a quarter of the volume that it should have been. There was no distortion, no static, no nothing, just as if the volume would not get past a quarter of, the level of the volume level, even though it was all the way maxed out. So started looking in this area right here. There's 3 little boards here. There's a preamp interconnect board. This little board here with the very frail ribbon cables on it is for your bass treble balance. And then there's this board. We'll take a quick look at this. Let's see if I can get you in here. Of course, since it has electronic volume, there's a chip involved for that. And that's a TC9153AP. So I started looking at this board. At first, I thought the chip was the problem. But then after looking at the service manual, I started doing some voltage checks. Well, first, I signal traced the signal going into this chip, and it was loud and clear, very loud. But coming out of the chip, it was that attenuated signal that you would get, of course, on the speaker lines and the preamp out. So doing a little voltage checking around this chip, I also noticed that on the 2 outputs, the left and right output, there was 8 volts. And I'm like, well, obviously we don't need to have 8 volts on the output, preamp output of this. So at first I thought maybe the little op amp right here was bad, but after kind of going through things again, now when he first sent this to me as part of the general evaluation I was doing of the radio, basically I'll take my ESR meter right here and just kind of do a cursory check of the capacitors in the radio to kind of see where they're at as far as health is concerned. And of course, pretty much as always, I don't ever find anything just horribly bad unless the radio's been subjected to abuse. This radio is in fantastic condition. I'd say almost mint condition. This is the mechanism from the radio, and it is super clean, and the pressure rollers are in great shape. So the radio hasn't had a hard life, but went through and kind of checked my capacitors on the boards and stuff. They all came back just fine, and didn't have any reason to suspect there was any kind of a problem. But this meter, as great as it is, and I believe these came on the market in the 90s, I bought this one then. These were a godsend for checking electrolytics and switch mode power supplies. Switch mode power supplies were huge back then in VCRs and other equipment. But these are also good for, obviously any electrolytic you want to check. But the downfall of this meter is it cannot detect a shorted capacitor. So once I realized I had 8 volts on the chip, I started going back with my multimeter, looking at these capacitors. Everything was good until I got to the one that used to occupy this place right here. And that's this little guy right here. Now, this is a 100 mic at 6.3 volt cap. Now, a 100 mic cap, if the meter swings over into the good, you wouldn't suspect that really, especially since all the other, I think there's only one other 100 mic cap on this board, and it did the same thing. It, 100 mic cap, it's in good shape, it's going to swing into the green, maybe with a little bit of droppage, but not too much. So you don't suspect that there's a short there. So this is what I found as the problem. First, I'll show you what the one right here, same value, 100 mic at 6.3, we'll show you what that one checks like. So remember, I'm just going through, initially when I received the radio, just doing kind of a good cursory check. Obviously short the probes together, the meter goes all the way to the green. So here is the one that was fine. I just ran through them all like that. got to this one, and of course, probably not paying close as attention as I probably should have been. But here's the way this one checks. So have no reason to suspect anything, but then on that second pass with my multimeter, then the problem got revealed. Dead short. Just like you're shorting the probes together. So definitely not infallible, these meters. But if this would have been a 10 mic cap that would have swung over there in the green, and 2 or 3 other 10 mic caps on this board would have checked in the yellow, then I probably would have went back. I would have went back and said, that seems odd, and checked it with a multimeter. But because you don't suspect a 100 mic cap to do that, I had no reason to suspect that there was a problem. So as fantastic as these are, and this one has only fooled me a few times, a handful of times in 30 years or so. Every now and then I'll get one, but this is the first one in a very long time. So if you have one of these radios that has attenuated volume, you might want to take a look at the cap that used to occupy this space right here. Now I put 100 mic at, I think this is 100 mic at 25, and I just laid it down and epoxied it to the board, used some heat shrink for the lead so it doesn't short to anything. But you might want to look right there at a potential problem. So just wanted to bring that to your attention in case you have one of these radios with that problem, or this could apply to anything that you're having some kind of a weird issue with, and you've went through the electrolytics. Now, I can only tell you what this meter does because this is the only one I own. Maybe other ESR meters have a way to detect that. I don't know. Again, I've had this for a very long time. But anyway, just thought I would share that with you guys in case you run across something like this.